In this video, I want you to walk you through the basic architecture of how the payments work in Braintree. In the diagram here, we have client, server, as well as Braintree server. What initially happens is when a user clicks on a page where we have to display the credit card, then on the GET request, the client reaches back to the server, and on the GET action method, we will create a token. That token will be created using the Braintree gateway. Once we have that token, we'll go back to the client application and we will display a form where they can enter the credit card using Braintree plugin. Once the user enters the credit card and hits the pay button, we do not go back to our server. We will rather go to the Braintree server, which you can see in the step 3 here. And Braintree server tells us that this credit card looks good. It will send a nonce token. Nonce for now you can treat as a random number, but I will explain you just in a second what exactly it is. So if the credit card is valid, Braintree server returns us a nonce token in the client application. So from that client application, we have to pass that nonce token to our server. Right now, no transaction has been made inside Braintree. All it is doing is it is sending a nonce token based on your credit card number, CVV, and the expiration date. The advantage of this approach is that you do not have to worry about PCI compliance, since you do not have the credit card details on your server and they never reach here. Once a client enters a credit card, all you are receiving back is a random string, which is a nonce token. All credit card and everything will be on the Braintree server. Based on that, they will give us a nonce token. Now we have the token, and inside the server, we know that when client hit the Pay Now button, they were supposed to charge, let's say $100. So what we will do is once we have a post request, in that we will use the nonce token that was given from Braintree in step 4. We will use that token in step 5 and call the Braintree server with the transaction amount and other details like order ID and anything else that you want to pass. At that point, the transaction will actually happen. So if you think about this, when the transaction actually happens, we are not passing the credit card number, we are actually passing them the nonce token. So with nonce token, we provide what amount we want to charge, and at step 5, finally the transaction takes place. Now this might be overwhelming if you have never worked with payment gateways before, but when we proceed with the course, I'll make sure I decipher every step, one thing at a time, so that you are not confused. As I said before, that using payment method nonces in place of raw card data helps to keep your PCI compliance burden to a minimum, since you are not saving the credit card of the customer. Braintree servers generate the nonce in response to requests from our client and server SDKs. In general, client will be responsible for receiving payment method nonces from Braintree and sending them to your server. Our server will then be responsible for sending those payment method nonces back to Braintree on request to perform other actions. That being said, one thing you should always remember is lifespan of a nonce. A payment method nonce that is generated can only be used once. If it is not used, it expires in 3 hours of being created for Braintree. The lifespan might be different for other payment gateways, but the nonce in Braintree expires in 3 hours. So I hope you have a brief overview of how the complete flow will work with the payment and when the transaction will complete.